Thanks for listening to Middle Aged and Mediocre. I'm Cash.
I'm Joel.
And we are a podcast about all things strange and unusual, death and UFOs, and other creepy,
Cults,
weird, random
ghosts.
stories. There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm just naming things in the room.
Oh my God.
There's a cult of ghosts. Ray Gun Radio presents
Middle Aged and Mediocre. Hey everybody. As always, thanks for listening to Middle Aged and Mediocre. I am Cash.
I am Joel.
And we are bringing you a very special episode because it's all about the Mothman.
Yep.
Or, I'm sorry, we should not
We talked about this.
Its gender.
Yeah.
So, let's go with moth person,
Moth person.
moth they,
I like moth person.
moth them,
Yeah. Moth they.
moth they,
Mothy. Mothe.
moth person. I like moth dude.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause
I wonder if someone did, confirm that it is a man.
look, there's a lot of things that have not been confirmed nor denied in the story of the moth dude person. So,
MP.
It's up to you. The MP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe someone saw his dick. And I mean, that's why they Mothman, It's all them mothballs.
Look at that moth dick.
Yeah. Just kind of hang a little bit.
We know all about Spider-Man's dick.
We do know about Spider-Man's
So,
dick.
we need to maybe look a little bit deeper into Mothman's dick. Look right into that pee hole.
Oh, God.
Oh, bring a pee hole back.
Pee-hole.
It's been a while, guys. But this will be our last episode of October. So, big month for us. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what the hell's happening and why the hell everybody likes to listen to this. But the numbers just keep going up.
They're climbing.
We seem to be... Our demographics keep changing. We're getting more of a mix of the ladies.
Well, that's going to end now.
I don't think so. I think that's going to get us more.
Oh, man.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before when it comes to the ladies.
Once or twice.
Once or 27 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we got some people from other places than America, which is always good.
Yeah.
Because this place is kind of a shithole.
Any more Australian listens?
I think it's shifted another percent up.
Okay, good.
So I think it's makes up 5 or 6% of our listeners now.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how much that equals out to because I don't know how to do math.
And then it has to flip under and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we got revert. Yeah, in Australia that's reverse numbers. So
I can't.
Good day, mate. That's just.
All right, lost the women and the Australian listeners.
Listen, I called America a shithole.
I know.
So there goes most of our listeners. That's
Yep. Us and our moms.
That's 80-some% of our listeners.
That's
right
our
there.
listeners now.
So who else?
My
Who else
mom.
can I get rid of?
Oh, don't be mean to my mom.
Look, Joel's mom, I have a thing or two to say to you.
Oh, man, yeah. You got some explaining to do.
Yeah, you are the reason why this is happening.
Oh.
Joel's mom. No, I love Joel's mom.
She's cool.
I don't know if I've ever met her.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's awesome.
She's seen you sleep.
What?
No more questions. We got to get into this moth person deal.
Oh, God. Well, next episode is going to be about why your mom seen me sleep. But until then...
Until then.
Yeah, man, we've... Mothman's origin, or place of origin, whatever, homeland
Yeah.
would be Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
He crawled out of a pepperoni roll.
Yes.
That was his cocoon.
Mothman
Or
is
their cocoon.
a mutant pepperoni roll.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. We already solved it. But no, we've taken a couple trips to Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So there should be a little video that's going to accompany this episode. So if you're listening to this episode, look for the link. There should be a YouTube video that I'll post on our Facebook page. And it's just going to be a little quick some stuff from our trips there.
Yeah, because there's
a bit
no
of footage.
festival. Normally every year they have a Mothman festival.
Yeah, but we got. I don't know when it takes place.
It was canceled this year, but it's in
It's just
October.
canceled. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in October.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but they canceled it. So,
So the times we were there, it was still kind of busy.
Yeah.
Like there were still plenty of people
we went
there.
to the museum the first time. They have a little museum there, all dedicated to Richard Gere.
It is.
And
There's a lot of.
It's crazy. They built that whole town just around that movie.
That is crazy.
It's like a Universal Studio
Point
thing.
Pleasant didn't even exist until
I know.
2002.
And then they made that movie.
Yeah, somehow it has a history dating back way back.
Hollywood. I don't know how they do it.
Halloween
Hire some
magic.
sort of CGI or something.
Sidja. So, okay, like, where do we start with the Mothman? I'll tell you.
I was going to say, don't ask me.
We start with the Mothman way back.
Okay.
Way back. Because if you're going to talk about the Mothman...
Like there's God and Mothman hanging out on a park
God,
bench.
and then there's Mothman. And Moth Dude said to God, hey, dude.
Nice wings. Does God have
Just
wings?
let me handle Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
No, so to talk about Mothman, you do have to discuss Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and the history there. So to do that, we're going to talk about what some call the curse of Cornstalk. And
Never heard of this.
never heard of it. So it's one of the explanations for all of this, I guess you could say. So actually, this entire area, like even we're in Parkersburg.
We're about, what, an hour away from Point Pleasant?
About an hour,
Yeah.
So this whole part of the country used to be Virginia. You know, we haven't always been West Virginia. Although if you are listening to this, shocking, I know.
Yeah.
West Virginia is not Virginia.
It's a separate
We're a
state.
different state.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll learn
Well, it's just
something.
weird because all the other, like, you know, directional states, there's two. North Carolina, South Carolina, North Dakota, South Dakota.
Yeah, it seems like no one ever fucks those up.
And they're just Virginia, West Virginia.
For some reason, people can't grasp.
Why can't they be East Virginia?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But, so this whole part of the country was regarded by the Native Americans as a haunted spot, plagued with ghost lights, phantoms, and strange creatures. The town of Parkersburg, just north on the river from Point Pleasant, which is
That's
where
where we are.
That's where we are. It has more than its share of ghosts, and we'll get into those at some point in the future.
That'd be cool.
And then nearby in Athens County, Ohio, that is one of the most haunted cities in the state of Ohio.
Athens.
A lot goes on there. So, yeah, this whole region has a bit of a reputation for weird and strange things. There have been a number of
podcast.
Our podcast is climbing that ladder.
Yeah. What's your name for pepperoni rolls? Weird things.
Mothman, middle-aged media.
Middle-aged, I can't even say it right.
It's just your show. Why would you be able to say
Why?
it right? There have been a number of theories to explain the large number of haunted happenings here, including that this area may be some sort of window between dimensions.
Ooh.
That'd be cool.
I want that Richard Gere movie.
Yeah. We'll get to the Richard Gere movie.
I know.
So, researchers with historical bent, I don't know what that means. Basically, researchers have come up with some theories here, and they trace a lot of the supernatural roots all the way back to a bloody event from the early days of the American Revolution. So, as the American frontiersmen begin to move west in the 1770s, there were 7 nations of Indians. Do you know any of them?
Nope.
The Shawnee,
Okay, yeah.
Delaware, Wyandotte, Mingo, Miami,
Yeah.
Ottawa, and Illinois.
Okay.
So they formed a powerful confederacy to keep the white men from infringing on their territory. The Shawnee were the most powerful of the tribes and were led by a feared and respected chieftain.
Tecumseh.
Nope.
Ah.
Called Ketuga. Ketugua, which translates to mean cornstalk.
Okay.
But I do believe Tecumseh was like somehow related to him.
Uh-huh.
Somehow they are tied together. And
I went to school in Ohio, and like a lot of
I thought you were going to say you went to school with Tecumseh.
No, a lot of the schools had like, you know, Native American. Like I went to Tar Heel Elementary. That was like part of all that. Tecumseh was the school. And,
Yeah. I mean, you know, the fact that we took their land
That's
we
fucked
really
up.
do rub it in their faces
Yeah.
by naming every fucking thing after them.
Like, sorry, we stole your land, murdered everybody, but we're gonna name stuff after you.
And I'm pretty sure it's indigenous people now, I think. This story I'm reading is from quite a bit.
Okay, so I shouldn't say Native
I
Americans.
think it's indigenous people now, right?
Yeah, I mean, Native Americans just means they were the first ones here.
Yeah, I try to stay up with
Okay.
with my PC-ness. But
I'm gonna have trouble saying
I'm not sure.
indigenous, so I'm just gonna
Anyways.
keep saying Native American.
Let's just talk about cornstalk.
Okay.
So in 1774, when white settlers were moving down into Kanawha and Ohio River valleys, basically cornstalk and the Shawnee were prepared to protect their land by any means necessary. So there was a bit of a war, and a battle, and became known as the Battle of Point Pleasant.
Okay.
So
And that's all painted on the wall there when we went.
that's right.
The
There's a
flood
big
wall.
flood wall. Yeah, and it has basically a little bit of like a mural.
Yeah.
So they basically were fighting against Virginia militiamen, because again, this is not the American Revolution has not started yet. A lot of historians look to this the Battle of Point Pleasant as one of the first battles of the American. One of the things that kickstarted it. So it was Chief Cornstalk led the Shawnee tribe. It had over 500 men. General Andrew Lewis led the Virginia militia, and in this battle, 141 Shawnee were wounded. 141 militiamen were wounded, and 81 died. 200 Shawnee died, and hundreds more were injured. Of course, as with most battles back then, this was a battle for land. So as time passed, though, so basically, once the casualties were rolling in, the Shawnee tribes retreated westward into the wilds of what is now Ohio. I think it's Chillicothe right there. So I think they went back to Chillicothe. And then to keep them from returning and to kind of guard that area more, the Virginia militiamen constructed a fort, which we try to get into.
Oh, that's what that was.
That's what that was.
Oh, okay.
You'll see that in our video.
We couldn't get in.
We tried, man.
Yeah.
And they would not let us
It's
in.
like it's like that place is made to
So,
keep people
I mean,
out.
they did a good job.
Yeah.
Because we put forth all of 30
I had my
seconds of
hops
effort.
on that day. You saw me jumping fences and stuff.
And you listeners will also see him jumping things if you check out the video.
Hold on to your butts.
So as time passed, Cornstalk made peace with white men, and he started. He came to this fort with a peace treaty, actually, and that was on November 7th of 1777. So he comes to them with his son, Red Hawk, I believe is his name, and he goes to Captain Arbuckle, which you never want to trust a man named Arbuckle. I'll just straight up. Like John Arbuckle.
Fatty Arbuckle.
Fatty Arbuckle.
Oh, that's a real person. I've heard that name before.
So yeah, they go to this captain. They tell him, hey, we got this peace treaty.
Hey man,
like let's just let's be nice to each other.
Live in harmony.
And so what do you think the Americans did?
They probably tricked them, killed them, did something awful.
At first, they just take them captive.
Okay.
So
like, boy, you guys are dumb.
Yeah. So they're thinking that they can use him, basically because some of the other like British soldiers and such were afraid of other settlers were afraid of the name Cornstalk.
Yeah.
And then they also knew that he garnered a lot of respect from other tribes. So they thought if they had him, they could kind of use him to their advantage. Yeah.
Sure.
So even though they were hostages, Cornstalk and his son and some other members of the tribe were reportedly treated well and were given comfortable quarters. This was really less of a taking them captive and almost more of like tricking them into being
Yeah.
captives. So
Stay a while.
Cornstalk actually kind of believed that he was just being protected.
Uh-huh.
He was just under protection. So the following day, though, so Red Hawk is not Cornstalk's son. Red Hawk is another member of the tribe. Cornstalk's son is Elena-Pisco. So anyways, next day, gunfire is heard from outside the walls of the fort. Men go out to investigate, and they find 2 soldiers who are out hunting deer, had been ambushed and killed by some Cornstalk's tribe. One had escaped. So 2 had been ambushed, 1 escaped, 1 died. When they get the bloody corpse, they bring it back to the fort. A lot of people in the fort, drunk, like just sitting around in the fort, drinking. Yeah. Plus, you're like, I mean, back then, every fucking day of your life is basically, are we going to be in a war today?
Yeah.
So they see this bloody corpse of one of their friends, fellow soldiers, and they are pissed. So even though Cornstalk and his men had nothing to do with this, like nothing they could prove, they bust through the doorway that Cornstalk's in, the little building he's in, and they bash his son's head in with a hammer. Red Hawk tries to escape through the chimney, but was pulled back down and slaughtered. And then Cornstalk is shot 8 times. And killed. But as he lays there, supposedly, reportedly, this is where the curse comes in, he looks upon his assassins and he speaks to them. Now, I'm going to read this.
Okay.
But my God, is it a lot for a dying, like, last words. And it's written like I would write a movie script.
Okay.
So I think this is bullshit.
Yeah.
But maybe part
Maybe
of
he said, like, some of this and they
it up.
Yeah.
So he says to them, I was the borderman's friend. Many times I have saved him and his people from harm. I never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I refused to join your pale-faced enemies with the redcoats. I came to the fort as your friend, and you murdered me. You have murdered by my side my young son. For this, may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted by nature. May it even be blighted in its hopes. May the strength of its peoples be paralyzed by the stain of our blood. So he spoke those words, so goes the legend, and then he died.
Yeah.
His body, along with the other bodies, were... actually, all but Cornstalk's body were just thrown into the river.
Jesus.
His body was buried near the fort.
It's weird they would keep the one
Yeah, so...
body.
So yeah, he puts a curse on the land, and...
Can't blame him.
Whether you believe that in curses or not, so over...
I've been to Point Pleasant, and it was pretty hopeless.
It's pretty cursed.
Yeah, it felt...
So, a lot of tragedies and stuff have been blamed on this throughout the years. So, in 1907, the worst coal mine disaster in American history took place in Monongah, West Virginia, on December 6th, when 310 miners were killed.
Jesus.
1944, in June, 150 people were killed when a tornado ripped through the tri-state area. 1967, the Silver Bridge collapses, which we will talk about. 1968, Piedmont Airlines plane crashed in August near the Kanawha Airport, killing 35. 1970, on November 14th, a Southern Airways DC-10 crashed into a mountain near Huntington, killing 75 people on board. 76, in March of that year, the town of Point Pleasant was rocked in the middle of the night by an explosion at the Mason County Jail. Housed in the jail was a woman named Harriet Sisk, who had been arrested for the murder of her infant daughter. On March 2nd, her husband came to the jail with a suitcase full of explosives to kill himself and his wife and to destroy the building. Both of the Sisks were killed, along with 3 law enforcement officers.
What year was this?
1976.
Holy shit.
March of that year. 1978, in January, a freight train derailed at Point Pleasant and dumped thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals. The chemicals contaminated the town's water supply, and the wells had to be abandoned.
I haven't heard any of this stuff.
1978, in April of that year, the town of St. Mary's, which is about a half hour away from us, north of here. And it was struck with tragedy when 51 men who were working on the Willow Island power plant were killed when their construction scaffolding collapsed. My grandfather was actually there when that happened.
Yeah. I have a friend whose dad was
in it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, that kind of covers like a bit of area. Like it's not just Point Pleasant, but
hey,
a lot of shit has happened in this area. So
bad shit.
Bad shit. So that's now let's fast forward a few years. And in Point Pleasant, during World War II, they build the what is now known as the McClintock Wildlife Preserve, also known as the TNT area.
Yeah.
So this was like a nowadays and before, around the time of the Mothman stuff, it housed wild exotic birds mostly. Like it was swamplands. We were there.
Yeah.
So it was very swampy. But back in World War II, Mason County was dedicated large amounts of land to TNT production plants for World War II. And then the bunkers, we went inside one. You guys can see that in the video. These bunkers were used to hide ammunitions and TNT from enemy aircraft that may be flying over. It was a very secret facility. It was around for about 5 years.
It was hard to find. Even I mean,
we honestly still had a bit of time. Jock Sampson bailed us out.
Yeah.
It was basically its own city. It had its own hospital, and things there were just very secretive. Like even the people in Point Pleasant, like there was just nobody knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's the government.
So there were accidents and rumors that there were experiments being conducted.
I can see that.
But toxic chemicals, EPA conducted environmental tests in the 80s and 90s and determined that large portions of the land were seeping with toxic chemicals.
And you took me there?
I took you there.
Wait till my mom hears about this!
I can't believe you fell for eating all the dirt. So, yeah, like, there's this weird connection between small towns and weird sightings. And I do wonder, like, back in World War II and all that stuff, like, how much secretive military shit was happening.
Yeah.
And if, like, I was going to test shit, or if I was going to, like, store chemical, like, back then especially, you'd pick a small town.
Yeah.
Like, who's gonna believe people in a small town, you know what I mean? So, so the area ends up becoming a popular meeting spot for teenagers and young people after World War, after it becomes basically just land.
It's not really middle-aged people.
Just
the teenagers.
Back then, so they mostly use it for parties, sit around drinking, go out and drink, and then they do a lot of drag racing down that stretch of road we were on. And since then, a lot of the igloos, the bunkers, have been leased out to private owners. And a lot of these, so like we were able to get into the first one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many there are down through that path.
That's a long path.
But a lot of and Jock was even telling us that some of the land is private.
Yeah.
So a lot of the private owners are chemical companies and other companies like that, and they house shit in these still.
Sure.
So they have these big, huge.
I mean, they were like really. Really well composed or whatever. Well, built,
maintained.
Yeah.
Like, some have giant iron doors.
Yeah.
Still,
locked
so
up.
You put something in there, like it's in there.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy being inside it. Like you said, they'll see the video, but it was.
Yeah, it's
really loud in there. Just all the echoes and everything, and.
So let me see here, and then so we've set the scene. The TNT area is here in Point Pleasant. Now let's get to the actual Mothman.
Okay.
Shit.
Let's talk about his dick.
We're gonna use some of this is coming from a book called "Strange West Virginia Monsters," and we gotta give a big shout out to Stephen Marsh.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Steve, good job, Steve. Steve hooks us up with this book.
Smarsh.
We're gonna start calling him Smarsh.
Condense it.
But yeah, friend of the show, Smarsh.
Good guy.
Hooks us up with this book. Thank you very much. and we're going to use it for some of
All right.
our information here. So, in autumn of 1965, a child tells his mother that he's seen an angel, a man with wings, outside their home near Clendenin,
Yeah.
West Virginia, and she laughs it off, as you would, to a stupid, dumb child.
You
talking about
idiot!
Angels.
Angels.
Months later,
And this is well before Highway to Heaven.
what is Highway to Heaven?
Oh, the show where the guy was an angel.
I have no idea what that
Oh, that's next episode.
is. Okay. Months later, during the summer of 1966, a doctor's wife living on the Ohio River saw a 6-foot giant butterfly swoop past her. But fearing ridicule, she only told a handful of her closest friends. You know any old TV shows about giant butterflies?
No, I was
I
thinking.
was hoping it was 2 for 2
I was
there.
thinking.
On November 1st, 1966, National Guardsmen saw a, quote, large brown man-shaped figure. And it was perched in a tree near the armory on Point Pleasant's Camp Colony Road. So those are some of the sightings, but the first official sighting, quote-unquote official, of the creature that would later become known as the Moth Dude, occurred on November 12th, 1966, while Kenneth Duncan and 4 friends were digging a grave for his brother-in-law, like you do with friends.
What?
You know? Let's just get together, dig this grave.
Yeah. I'll buy you guys pizza and beer.
and booze.
It's like,
We'll knock back some
can't we just
brewskis.
move? Can we move you or something? That would be
No,
so much
we're
better.
digging graves.
And then we'll move the body. Come on.
So they're also in Clendenin. And Clendenin, West Virginia, is about 85 miles from Point Pleasant.
I had a moped that made that noise. All right. Thank you. Be here all week. I'm not leaving.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
So 3 days later, wait a minute. So Duncan, the gravedigger, he tells reporters that the creature looked like a brown human being. It was gliding through the trees and was in sight for about a minute. But none of the other 4 people saw this, apparently. So then, so that's November.
So it's in sight for a minute, but no one. He's not like, hey guys, look at that.
Right, like, hey, there's a giant thing flying.
Yeah. He just mesmerized.
So that's November.
He
11th.
saw the cock. That's what he was just mesmerized by it.
And he couldn't take his
He's like,
eyes
it's
off
definitely
of
a
it.
man.
That is a moth cock if I ever saw one. So that's November 12th, 1966. November 13th, 1966, next night, 90 miles away in Salem, West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Myrtle Partridge was watching TV.
That's a really good name.
It's a really good name. He's watching TV. This is coming from a documentary called Eyes of the Mothman.
Okay.
If you guys want to check that out. He's inside watching TV with his family, and they hear this loud noise outside around 11 p.m. His dog Bandit goes crazy, and the TV starts
Fucking
making...
Merle's got a bandit.
Merle and a Bandit. One of my favorite TV shows. The TV starts making a high-pitched whine, and then it basically explodes. Like sparks and shorts out. Merle grabs his gun to see what the fuck's going on. I added that part.
That's not how you fix a TV, Merle.
You're
only going to make it worse.
This is in the 60s. That's how you fix a TV.
He's like, I threatened it.
So Bandit's still barking, and as soon as Merle opens the door, Bandit takes off down the road towards the noise. My dog's actually...
I know!
Right
Kind of
now.
creeping me out.
He sees the Mothman. Will you open that door for a minute and just let him in here so he realizes what's happening and he shuts up? Hey, Beasley. You see the Mothman? Hey, Beezer. Beezy.
Be easy in the house. Hi, buddy.
Special guest.
He's sniffing me. He's checking me out.
We have a
Oh,
guest.
God.
You can't. You just chopped him.
I thought he was going to bite me.
He won't bite you.
Okay.
I mean, he might.
He's right near my genitals now.
Oh, yeah. He loves biting you.
Oh,
Biting
God.
weird dudes' dicks. Hey, Beezer.
I'm the weirdest.
Hey, buddy. Anyways, all right. So Bandit takes off down the road towards the noise. Merle claims that he saw red rotating flashing lights, and says it wasn't an aircraft.
Okay.
And Merle's got like some sort of military background. I can't remember what it was. So he would know.
If you keep a gun by you when you're watching TV.
Yeah. And you have a dog named Bandit. The lights all of a sudden disappear, along with Bandit.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's get back to the book. 3 days later. So now we're on. Well, not 3 days later. 3 days later from the original sighting. We're now November 15th, 1966. Two married couples, Steve and Mary Mallett, and Roger and Linda Scarberry.
They were doing some swapping?
I don't know what was about to
Okay.
happen. They were on their way to do something.
Okay.
They were driving down the road in the T&T area, and they suddenly say that they saw approaching from the T&T area site an eerie figure slouched at roadside, watching them with two big red eyes, like automobile reflectors. Shaped like a man, but bigger, says Roger. Maybe 6.5 or 7 feet tall, and it had big wings folded against its back. For a minute, we could only stare at it. Then it just turned and sort of shuffled back towards the open door of the old power plant. And we didn't wait around.
No.
So they go to take off, and this is again around 11 p.m. Same time as Merle's the night before. So they go to take off.
And there's 4 witnesses that time. So
Yeah.
all 4
They're
seen
driving like 100 miles an hour, they say, down this road. Get the fuck away. All of a sudden they realize this creature's chasing them.
Oh.
And it's keeping pace. So they would actually say, so they try to escape. They get back to State Route 62, and it's still following them. Linda states that the wings have at least a 10-foot wingspan, and that she could hear it making a sound. It was squeaking like a giant mouse. And it followed them right to the city limits. And then Roger says, and I don't know if this is before or after, like, the Merle story. I don't know if he knows Merle's story. But he says at some point that they noticed a dead dog by the side of the road. But when they went back later, the dog was gone.
Huh.
So, BZ.
And the dog is back from the dead.
Not you, buddy. You're not the dead dog.
Oh, he's a good boy.
You're a live dog.
But that was the next night, and it was 90 miles away. So, like, how...
Mothman carried it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, how would that guy hear of Merle's story with their dog?
But I don't know when he made this statement.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, so they go to the police. They're freaked out. They go to the police, and reportedly they're so freaked out and they're so scared that the police are actually like, something happened.
Yeah.
Like, they believe them. So they take all 4 of them into separate rooms and have them give their statements. All 4 of them give...
They just beat it the fuck out of them. This is the last time, Linda!
They're like,
how many foot span is it? She's like, just stop hitting me!
They're like, we're willing to tell you.
Yeah, we came here to tell you. Shut up, Linda! I think you said one of their names was Linda.
Yeah, Linda.
Okay, good.
So they all 4 give nearly identical statements. The police go back...
Please stop hitting us. No.
The police go back to where the couple say they saw the creature, and they don't find anything there. But, so they actually take the couples back there. They go with them, and they see nothing, but the deputy states that his two-way radio began emitting weird sounds like a sped-up phonograph record, until all of a sudden it just quit working. So that's weird.
TV kind of weird thing.
Yeah,
now
so a lot of stuff lining up here. Beasley, what do you want? Do you have something to say? Do you have some information about the Mothman for us?
He's like, I just want to share my tale.
I think he wants to go out and pee. You're going to have to hold it, buddy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, after this, so they published the story. Like, next day in the news, the story's front page. And from that point on, for like weeks after, there are just tons of sightings.
After
right?
it hit the
Everyone's
paper.
seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, everyone's reporting basically the same thing, though, that they see these giant, huge, globe-like red eyes.
Red eyes, and the wings probably.
And a lot of them are saying that that the eyes are like mesmerizing. They're hypnotizing.
I get that a lot about my eyes.
I've always thought. Like,
Yeah,
that's why sometimes if you hear me just trail off, it's because I've just been like, oh, shit. I got lost in the moth Joel's eyes. Many state that they were that they felt like they lost time when they were in this presence of the Mothman. And all of a sudden, Mothman hunting parties became normal around the area. That's what they would do on the weekends all of a sudden. Like, they would just go out,
get drunk up, liquored up probably,
and they would start hunting for the Mothman.
I can't believe just like teenagers were shot that were there trying
Right,
to
yeah.
do the partying and stuff.
So many in the town start asking, this is, so this is a, small town. Back in the '60s, like, I don't know if you know this or not, but like religion used to be a real big thing in small towns in the '60s. Yeah, a lot of churchgoers. Goers. I don't know what I just said. So
Growers, glowers.
So a lot of church folks, while they're in church, there'd be talks about what the hell's happening. Some
That's what they'd say. What the hell?
What in the hell
Merle?
is happening, Merle? A lot of them started to say, like, hey, maybe this is an angel.
Yeah.
And then others argue, no, it's a demon. Some are even saying it's the demon, or it's the devil himself.
Oh.
Some actually believe that this was the beginning of the rapture.
This is how it starts. Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant. So this is all starting, right?
Yeah.
So shit's about to go down. So with that, with shit about to go down, we're going to take an ad break.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's how shit goes down around here.
Yeah.
And we will be right back to continue the story of the Mothman.
Moth person.
Alright, so we are back from the ad break, and we were talking about the Mothman, and we were talking about people thinking that this might be the damn devil.
Yeah. Or an angel.
So what do you think it might be? Just first inclination.
I don't know, man. I'm not into a lot of the supernatural kind of deal, so I don't know.
Some people, we did not plan this, but that's a hell of a segue. Some other people that were not into the supernatural agree with you.
I don't think it's like a normal animal, though. So if they did see something, I don't know.
So professors from WVU started studying the area and started studying all of the sightings and reports, and they came up with a theory that it was a very large sandhill crane. And those are sandhill cranes were popular in the area.
They have a wide wingspan.
They have a wide wingspan, very long legs. They have a red spot on their head
So I think
that looks very much like two eyeballs almost.
Oh, really?
Like it kind of separates into two little.
So
that's
a big dick.
Yeah, huge cock.
All right, we solved it.
The sandhill crane cock.
Well, WVU solved it.
The townspeople were not. A lot of them were not happy about this.
Yeah.
And felt like it was just insulting. Like on that documentary, The Eyes of Mothman, there's a lot of they interview a lot of people who were around when this happened, either as kids or like young men or like some. I mean, I think they interview a couple people that are fucking 200 years old at this point. And they all kind of say like, we know what a fucking sandhill crane looks like.
Yeah.
This ain't it.
Yeah.
So.
But it's always at night too.
Always at night.
It's always at night. It's always.
And then.
I could see a sandhill crane. They probably shuffle when they walk.
Well, so what I go back to, and what is mentioned by some people in a theory, a lot of fucking toxic chemicals.
Oh yeah.
Are in the land. In the water. The sandhill cranes would be eating fish, the fish that lived in the contaminated water. So.
What kind of mutations would that do?
Who the fuck knows? Like, just the sandhill cranes already are pretty damn tall. So it's not crazy to think that one might be 6 feet.
Yeah.
Well, a huge wingspan.
There's got to be one that's going to be bigger, than like the rest. There's abnormals,
So yeah, they that's one theory. There's another theory that it's a type of owl.
Who?
An owl.
Who?
OLW.
I know.
Get what you're doing.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I'll leave.
Get the fuck out.
I'll leave. I already said it before you even said it.
I'll finish this on my own. So yeah, like mostly sandhill cranes are about 4 feet tall.
What if it was like two on top of each other, like they were
trench coat?
young? Yeah, trying to get into a movie or something. I've seen that done with crows.
Have you?
Yes, some Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought in person. So I know you worked in the theater. So,
I did work the theater.
You did?
Yep.
So, they are about 4 feet tall on average, and their wingspan is already about almost 7 feet.
Yeah.
So you get a little chemicals in them.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think that's too far fetched to think that one could be another 1.5 feet on top of that, or.
Yeah. So, maybe it's that. A lot of people described it as being like banshee-like. So, and throughout history, stories of banshees describe them as signs of bad things to come, and that would kind of be a thing that would eventually go to be a part of Mothman's lore.
Yeah.
That he was there to warn. A lot of people said that Mothman was in the area to warn people of something. So, many of the people who claim to have seen the Mothman or had an encounter with the Mothman also claim to have suffered mental anguish for years afterward.
Sticks with you, seeing the Mothman.
There's been a couple cases where the people who have claimed to have seen the Mothman came down with cases of conjunctivitis, which is not good.
No.
But again, they live in a very highly toxic area.
And they're outside at night. And you're going to get sick if you don't have a hat on.
And a lot of them, like a lot of people who had reports of seeing the Mothman, again, at night, there were a lot of reports, and from what I gathered from the documentary, there's some evidence to back this up. A lot of them had random patches of sunburned skin, of what looked like sunburned skin.
Yeah, that's weird.
Just random places. So, again, though, contaminated area.
Yeah.
So...
They've been in the water, they've...
Yeah, so...
but that town, especially now, so I can see it back then, too, that that's their identity.
Right. So,
I mean, like now, it's kind of, even as popular as Mothman is and everything, like the town's not in the best of shape. You can tell that the best days are behind it. I mean, like the theater shut down, there's not a whole lot of restaurants, but you can tell that stuff was at one point thriving. And now you go down there and it's just, they have the Mothman Museum. They of course have the wall with the mural talking about the Native American stuff, but it's just they definitely wanted an identity from that.
They basically turned a lot of bad things that happened into something very good for that area.
Getting people in there. They were having people coming in from West Virginia University to look into it. Like, it's just attention for the town.
The area of Point Pleasant, especially back then, in this time, a lot of hills, a lot of forest areas, heavily wooded areas, very heavy thicket, brush.
Yeah.
So, say you have some contaminated sandhill cranes, right? You've got these large birds. They've been mutated in some way because of the toxic chemicals. They would be able to hide out in these areas. And then one would maybe just wander off.
Nighttime.
And now you have some sightings.
Yeah.
So, and reports of large aggressive birds have been made for years all around the world. So, like, this is not a new thing. Like, there are tons of species of animals that we still don't know about.
Yeah.
Like,
they jungles and
there's just so much shit we don't know even exists yet. But so along with the Mothman sightings at the same time, UFO sightings were coming in at an enormous rate. There were actually more UFO sighting reports in the area than there were Mothman reports. Wow. But the Mothman kind of, that thing kind of took off.
Yeah. Well, that's unique to that area, too. I mean, there's probably UFO sightings
everywhere. Again, though, it's strange to me that UFO sightings tend to happen in small towns. Where you have a little bit of some weird military shit happening. So along with going Mothman hunting, there would also be a lot of people would go saucer hunting. So, like, that area is just, like, this crazy fucking time.
And eventually you get to the point where you want to see something.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you do see something, anything, I mean, you want to be the person that goes into town and yells, "I saw it."
Right. Like, you don't want to be the only one that's not seeing it.
Yeah.
At first, you might feel like if you do see something, you're the first one or whatever,
Uh-huh.
you probably do feel maybe like like I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, like that lady who supposedly saw it but didn't tell you one
like,
but
I
her
don't want
close
people to think I'm
friends.
crazy.
Yeah.
But then, like the other end of that, if everyone's seeing it, you're like, well, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, I want to see
Why
it.
am I
now.
not seeing it?
So they go out and they want to see it, and they'll go around and see what they want to see, maybe.
So, I'm sure you've heard of a movie called Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Uh,
Here they come.
so this is a pretty big part of the Point Pleasant Mothman
Will Smith?
thing. Not so much Will Smith.
Okay.
But in 1966, 1967, that time period, along with the Mothman, along with UFOs, there were a lot of reports of unknown people around the town of Point Pleasant, usually dressed head to toe in black suits,
Look 'em fly.
white shirts, black ties, and black shoes.
Was it the
and
Blues
it
Brothers?
was the Blues Brothers? There you go. The
Solved
Blues
another
Brothers.
one.
They are said to have asked people questions about the Mothman and then would tell them not to speak about it. So, like, they would get their information and they'd be like, don't tell anyone else. There's even supposedly a reporter named Mary Hire. They visited her and questioned her about the creature. And then one apparently threatened a witness named Connie Carpenter. Another one was interviewed and left with a message. A note was left for her that said, "Be careful, girl. I can get you. I can get you whenever."
Yeah. Girl.
So they was just
These
like,
are really bad lyrics to a love song.
but a lot of people who supposedly witnessed these people say that while they looked like human beings, their skin was almost transparent. And you could see the veins in their hands very clearly. Their fingers were longer than normal person's fingers as well. And this kind of goes with the story of Indrid Cold.
Uh-huh.
So Indrid Cold, also known as the Smiling Man, is an alleged humanoid entity. His name comes from his tendency to smile at those who encounter him, and it's said that he still visits West Virginia today. So Indrid Cold was reported to be human-like in appearance, and he's commonly associated with UFO activity and the Mothman. He's even believed to maybe be the Mothman or an alien of some sort. And it's also believed that he is believed to be connected to the Men in Black sighted around Point Pleasant. In his first sighting, he was described as being over 6 feet tall and wearing a reflective green suit with a black belt, kind of like the Riddler.
Yeah.
He had a dark complexion with small, beady eyes set very far apart. Some say he could fly he had wings and he could fly.
I was going to say, did he have a giant trench coat on?
So,
Bumpy in the back?
he was described as not having any nose,
Lumpy?
ears, or hair. The second known encounter with him, they said the suit was blue, but still reflective.
I you can't take a picture of him.
So one of the people closely related, or not related to him, but often brought up at the same time as him, is a man named Woodrow Derenberger, or Derenberger, I don't know how you say it. But he's actually from Parkersburg.
Oh.
And in November 2nd, 1966, he states that he was headed home on Interstate 77, and he heard a crash. Then an unidentifiable vehicle appeared to land in front of his truck. He described it as an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney, flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck and then enlarging in a great bulge in the center. The grinning man came out of the vehicle with a dark tan, walked up to Derenberger, and telepathically said his name was Indrid Cold, and he meant no harm. Cold said he just wanted to know more about the human race, and he would visit Derenberger again. And after the visit, Derenberger stated that Cold revealed he was from the planet Lanulos and the galaxy of
He's chatty right off the bat.
Ganymedes. So
That Indrid Cold.
like that's who knows what the fuck's going on, but I find it interesting that around the exact same time, like this is all happening 1966, 1967, 1968. There's Mothman There's UFOs. There's Men in Black. There's Endred Cold. This is all happening in Point Pleasant, Parkersburg, this area. Like, in the span of 3 years, something had to have been going on, right? Like,
something a little weird.
Like, like if it's just one thing is being reported. If the only thing that's being reported is there's a Mothman, then you hear the Sandhill Crane thing, and you're like, yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
But there's so much. There's there's
the guys asking about it.
Men in Black or one. Like, what? How are?
And I can believe that some government officials would come and look into it. So, and maybe just that became more and more lore than in truth. You know, like their skin was translucent.
Yeah. So if this was the secret facility was around the TNT area, then it would make sense that if the government's got some secret shit going on, they are sending some men to check in on it.
Yeah.
And just trying to cover their base, see what people know. And with all of the there's a lot of new information out there about UFO sightings. Like, the government started to release things where they're like, yeah, there's some shit,
some videos, and
so who knows what all the government's been sitting on for so many years now. But so all this is happening, and this is all going to lead to December 15th, 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Just over a year after the first Mothman sighting. And traffic is terrible on Silver Bridge. This was originally built in 1928 to connect Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to Gallipolis, Ohio. And the bridge is packed with cars. So this is December 15th, right before Christmas.
Yep.
From the documentary I watched, a lot of people said that the traffic was all from West Virginia going into Ohio for shopping, like to shop. So it's heavily packed. There was also, I think they said, there was something wrong with the lights on the Ohio side. So it caused...
That's how it was in the movie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the movie, it happened on Christmas Day, so I'm starting to question your facts a little bit, pal.
Well, I assume Richard Gere would not be a part of something that was not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So it placed a strain on the bridge. At the time that the bridge was built, cars were much lighter. Back when it was built, the Model T was the car that was around. It weighed just 1,500 pounds.
Not a lot of people had cars, too.
Right. By 1967, the average weight for a car was 4,000 pounds. So, also, the engineers who had built the bridge were not very imaginative nor cautious. So, the bridge's design was not the best. And basically, if one part failed, there was nothing to prevent the whole thing from failing.
How many times you cross over a bridge just take it for granted? You're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
I don't. I freak out a little bit every time I cross a bridge.
Really. There's some bridges. I don't know what. I don't know. There just depends what they look like. For the most part, I don't give a shit.
We lived in South Carolina and would go across the bridges there. Some of those are like a mile long.
Yeah,
And my mom would always.
Yeah,
freak
I
out
wouldn't want to be on
bridges.
one for any longer than I had to.
Like sometimes you have to stop on a bridge.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I'm not gonna look over the side. Then you look over the side. You're like, oh, there's the
just
water.
Feel like the chances that you're going to be on the bridge of collapse is so low. But I'm also terrified of roller coasters.
Yeah, there's still a chance.
Whatever.
I'm always like, there's still like, what's the worst that could happen? I always think of that. Like, well, the worst is bridge collapse, you die.
Yeah. It's a hell of a way to die too. You're trapped with anyway. Yeah. So without warning, an eye bar on the bridge, like it was a piece of the bridge or whatever, it cracks. The chain snaps, and the bridge falls to pieces. And all the cars and everybody in the cars plunges into the icy water of the eye river below.
Jesus.
46 people died.
Now in the movie, 36 people died.
Yeah, a lot less died in the movie.
Yeah. We gotta get to the bottom of this.
So they either die by drowning or being crushed.
Yeah.
Fucking not good either way.
No.
So a lot of this. So following the Mothman sightings, the bridge collapse was the second terrible and bizarre thing to put Point Pleasant on the map in a year's time. So again, this is about a year after the Mothman sighting. People quickly connected the two. And then in 1975, author John Keel really conflated things between the Mothman and the bridge when he wrote the book, The Mothman Prophecies.
Oh.
So he also threw in some UFO activity to go along with all of this. And his story basically became the story that is still out there today. It's still why this is so popular. It became iconic among conspiracy theorists, UFO fans.
He really sensationalized it all.
Yeah, and fans of the paranormal. So Mothman basically put Point Pleasant on the map. The Silver Bridge collapse really...
I mean, that's all that town has. They have that museum there and, the wall.
So a lot of people... Not a lot of people. There were a few people. They claim that right before the bridge collapses, there's multiple people that came forward with these reports, that, minutes before the bridge collapsed, they heard really weird and unusual noises.
Yeah.
Some describe swooping sound, like you would get from a giant winged creature. Yeah. Others reported a loud screech.
What kind of noise is that bridge gonna make though?
Exactly.
How much is it could have been failing minutes before it finally snapped. That part that snapped and
also just how good are people's memories?
After
how
that.
sure are they that they heard something before the bridge collapsed and they didn't hear something while the bridge collapsed? So, but then there was also a lot of reports of people that said even some people that were near the bridge, that were basically almost on it, just not quite enough on it to fall. They claimed that they saw the Mothman on the bridge, and that's where the theory came that the Mothman was trying to warn people. Yeah, almost.
See, I always thought, and even after being there, I never really paid close. I thought the Mothman caused it. I thought that was the thing, but
no, it's supposed to be a
after watching the movie last night, he was trying to be yo.
So, so the Mothman has stuck around and is still in today's popular culture.
Yeah, like we said, every year there's a festival, and it is crazy packed.
The Mothman Festival started in 2002, which I was surprised it started. I feel it was earlier than that, but
I
2002,
thought it would too.
It gets about 10 to 12,000 guests a year.
And I mean, Point Pleasant is not.
It's a tiny place.
It makes Parkersburg look big.
Oh, you could fit Point Pleasant basically on my block.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
There's a 12-foot metallic statue of the creature right in the middle of the town. It was rendered by a sculptor named Bob Roach.
When did they put that up? Do you have the year for that?
2003.
Okay.
It was installed in the city. It's got an ass on it.
Yeah, it does.
He gave Mothman
some buttons of steel.
Yeah, yeah. In 2005, the town opened the Mothman Museum and Research Center. And basically, a lot like the people of Roswell, New Mexico, the people of Point Pleasant, they took all of these stories of UFOs and Mothman, and they made it a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
So
it's their lifeblood now.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there twice, and like you said, the Mothman Festival was canceled this year, but there were still...
Yeah. I mean, more people downtown there than what you would see out downtown Parkersburg.
Yeah.
Even though we're a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just because people go there to get pictures in front of the statue, and really the statue in the museum. They some of the places there's diners, and they have little snacks and stuff with Mothman kind of themes.
Yeah, we didn't get to. So the one place we went into, it's a little coffee shop.
Yeah.
They sell green Mothman cookies.
They didn't have
tried
any.
to get it. They didn't have.
They had Mothman droppings. We're like, fuck you.
Yeah, I was how's that gonna look cool in the video?
Yeah.
I felt like the
Let's
biggest
eat some shit.
I don't know about you. I felt like the biggest loser.
Yeah, we
we go there to ask for them. And they're like, we don't have those. We have whatever. And we turn there's all these people that are there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many were just the people that live there, but everyone was looking at us like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You fucking
tourists. Yeah. Everyone there's a tourist.
Yeah. So, before we get into the movie, apparently not, Mothman sightings are not exclusive to West Virginia, apparently. or Ohio. It's right
Yeah.
there in Ohio. But allegedly, there's been conspiracy theorists who have said that Mothman has been everywhere from Chernobyl, right before it was, it happened.
The whole meltdown.
Some even say that Mothman was sighted in New York City on 9/11.
Oh, wow, I haven't heard that.
So, from 2011...
That wasn't even at night.
Right. So, yeah, like, people everywhere kind of use the Mothman as he was there to try to warn us about a disaster.
Yeah. Where was the Mothman on my wedding day? Your big old moth dick!
Hey, maybe he was there and you just weren't looking.
Oh, yep.
And then most recently... Because
he could have warned me, is what I'm saying.
I get it.
Okay.
Right, I get it.
Yeah.
And, you could have married him.
I would have.
Right.
Yeah.
He could have swooped in.
Man.
Took you in his arms.
I would have become his publicist
You
and really got him some money. Okay.
No, you want to go there? Let's go there.
I just want warned. You're the one making us man and moth.
Hey, whatever, man. It's recently, Point Pleasant was recently featured in Fallout 76.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mothman's in there. You can actually go. I think the Mothman Museum is actually in there. I think
shoot people.
You can shoot the moth. I don't know.
Okay.
Mothman. I think Mothman's an enemy in the game.
All right.
But most recently, with all of the talk of Confederate statues and all that stuff, and like tearing down statues, there was actually a petition this year. A petition this year was created to replace all Confederate Army statues in West Virginia with statues of the Mothman.
I thought you were going to say they wanted to take down the Mothman statue.
No, they want to replace all, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Let's put Mothman statues everywhere. Robert E. Lee, you gotta go. Yep. Mothman E. Lee is coming
with the ass.
So, with that big old ass.
Big old silver ass.
So, I think the most, maybe Fallout might have overtaken it now, but before Fallout, I think the most popular thing that Mothman appeared in...
Not in Point Pleasant. It's still the Mothman Prophecies in Point Pleasant.
Yeah. So, so I've never watched this movie. So
I watched it for the second time ever last night. And I think I saw it when it first came out on video. VHS, kids. It was this little rectangular black box that you would insert into this bigger rectangular black box. And you would have to rewind them back.
Box in a box.
Yeah, box in a box.
So, this is the 2002.
Was it 2002?
2002.
So that kind of jump-started everything then. That's when the festival started right after that.
Yeah.
And
so I'm sure they knew that it was being...
No wonder that town loves Richard Gere so much.
They love him.
Yeah.
So the Mothman Prophecies is what we're talking about. So tell us a little bit about the Mothman Prophecies.
It's a good movie. In the movie, Mothman gives you pink eye. Okay. That's how they know if you've seen the Mothman, because you get pink eye and it gets a little red.
I think isn't that conjunctivitis?
Is that what conjunctivitis is?
I think so. Keep talking.
All right. It's a Christmas movie because it takes place on Christmas. All right. So pink eye, conjunctivitis. Indrid Cold is in there. He calls people. And he's like, "What you wearing?" And stuff like that. Here's the truth. My ears are really fucked up and clogged, and it didn't have closed captions, so I missed a lot of the dialogue. I just filled it in with myself. No, but Richard Gere's in it. There's 36 people that die in the movie. Of course, 46 in real life. Here's some other Richard Gere movies I've seen: An Officer and a Gentleman, Pretty Woman, First Night, Primal Fear, The Jackal, and Unfaithful. And Unfaithful is 2002, and that's the last Richard Gere movie that I've seen. Well, I guess, that was after Unfaithful came out after the Mothman Prophecies.
So let's see, when did Richard Gere kind of become known?
Probably Officer and a
Pretty
Gentleman.
Woman.
A little bit before that. Officer and a Gentleman was before that.
Officer and a Gentleman was 1982.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in American Gigolo too.
Yeah, American Gigolo. I haven't seen American Gigolo.
American Gigolo is probably what really started out his career more than anything. He was in some stuff before then, but
Will Patton's in there too, and I really like Will Patton's character in the movie. Here's some other Will Patton movies I've seen: The Client, The Puppet Masters, Copycat, Armageddon, Gone in 60 Seconds, Remember the Titans, The Punisher, Roadhouse 2, which I have not seen, but now I want to.
You don't want to.
And he was also in 2018's Halloween. And those are the movies with Will Patton I've seen.
Man, I'm looking at Richard Gere's body of work here,
Oh, are you?
and I forgot about. So he was in Runaway Bride,
See, I didn't see that.
Autumn in New York. He was in like a.
It wasn't on my
string-
list
He was
of
in a
it.
string of like rom-com or not
Yeah.
rom-coms, but romantic. Dr. T and the Women. Remember that? I worked in the theater when that came out.
You worked at the
I
theater?
worked in the theater too.
No, I worked at the one in Vienna.
Yep, same here.
Wow.
Same here.
Wow.
He was in Chicago.
Yeah,
the
Queen
musical?
Latifah. I didn't see that, though, so it wasn't on my list.
Man, that's the last.
And I would like to talk about not what Richard Gere has been in, but what's been in Richard Gere.
What is Richard Gere really famous for?
And I took a deep dive on this last night. I took a deep dive into Richard Gere last night.
Oh.
I've always heard the rumor, though. I don't know. It's so crazy how these things start. But Richard Gere was once... He took himself to the ER because he had a gerbil stuck up his ass.
Right.
And that's something that I've heard for years.
As long as I can remember.
So I started researching that last night.
Okay.
And apparently that surfaced around 1984. That story was Richard Gere. And they think that what happened was it was just a gay man and a mouse. But the story, much like the Mothman, the story kind of spirals out of control and it became Richard Gere and a gerbil.
Oh, so the story they think is just some gay guy.
Yeah.
And a mouse.
Yeah.
And then that gay guy became.
Yeah. And then once the internet became a thing, it was like, that's when it really, obviously took off. That's when I heard about it. I mean, it wasn't something my dad passed down to me one day. Joe, I think you're old enough. Come here, buddy. Sit on my knee.
Take a squat.
You know that movie Officer and a Gentleman? No. Well, Richard Gere. No. But apparently the idea is that as the gerbil suffocates in your asshole, it scratches and claws at the lining of the rectum, providing an intense sensation to the Richard Gere. And normally you would just pass the gerbil when you're done having your fun.
Right.
But sometimes it can scratch so much and cause so much bleeding that your anus like kind of swells and then it becomes stuck. And that's when you have to go to the ER.
So what you're saying is...
And that's the rumor that Richard Gere did that.
What you're saying is he provided for the mice, the gerbil.
The gerbil, in this case.
The gerbil basically would be a car.
Yes.
And the gerbil car would pull into the garage. Oh!
The garage.
Garage.
I have a theory about this too, though.
The garage?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think what it is I'm not afraid to say it. Richard Gere is a fine-looking man. And I think in the mid-'80s, you better agree with me. You know he is. That hair?
Are you saying that in the mid-'80s, gerbils were like, let me get that ass?
I'm saying in the mid-'80s, men at the time didn't want to say that Richard Gere was a good-looking man, so they had to make up stories about him to make themselves feel better about their less than Richard Gere selves. So it's just easier to be like, yeah, he's a good-looking man, but he probably puts gerbils up his butt.
I mean, you might be onto something, but I feel like...
Do you think Richard Gere went to the ER to have a gerbil removed right here on this podcast? We need an answer. Do you think Richard Gere had a gerbil removed from his rectum?
Yes.
Oh!
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'll say it. I'll stand by it.
Oh, man. This is what's going to tear us apart.
Proudly support
This
that
is what's
theory.
going to tear us apart.
There is no way.
You and your garage.
There is no way that from the time I was a child,
when your dad pulled you up
I
on his
am
lap.
37 years old right now, and I have heard of the Richard Gere with a gerbil in his ass story since I was like 5.
I've heard of that more than the Mothman.
Yep. Yep. There is no way that there's not some truth to a story that has lasted over time about Richard Gere.
Because it involves someone's asshole in like a rodent. I don't believe it, okay?
So
We're going to be on different sides of the fence on this one.
I guess we just live in two different worlds.
I guess so. I'm questionable about the Mothman, and I know Richard Gere didn't have a gerbil up his ass.
And I believe in both.
Okay. How do you feel about Santa Claus?
Good dude.
All right.
Really good dude. Brings me shit every year.
Every year.
I like him.
I won't. I'll leave that alone then.
Good.
All right, little
You
fella.
got something bad to say about
Nope.
Santa Claus? I don't want to hear it. So here's some more Richard Gere trivia. He turned down this. Fucking idiot. He turned down the lead role in Die Hard.
What?
Yep.
I am so glad he turned down the lead role in Die Hard.
Die Hard would not be a thing
No.
if he would have been.
It's well known that like most of the jokes in that was like Bruce Willis just like riffing on set and stuff.
Then his agent sucks. He also turned down the role of Gordon Gekko in Wall Street.
Wow.
That's the role he says he regrets passing on the most.
I thought you were gonna say honestly. I thought you were gonna say he turned down Han Solo.
Oh no,
because I can kind of see him as Han, a young Richard Gere.
In 1993,
it's not Chewbacca, but it's a gerbil. Hey.
People magazine didn't name a sexiest man alive, but they named Richard Gere and his then wife Cindy Crawford as the sexiest couple.
Oh yeah.
He was among the guests at Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes' wedding. So he's weird.
Yeah.
He was very active in AIDS fundraising. Good job, guy.
Yeah.
Let me see. What other? Anything else
He's got
interesting
great
he's
hair.
done?
He's got
some great hair. He always has.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon said of him, quote, Richard has been in a lot of good films, but he's never been in a great one.
Ooh.
So go fuck yourself, Richard.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, I don't know. This is all so stupid. Jodie Foster said of him, quote, a lot of actors think acting is a girl's job, but Richard finds something sensuous in acting. I have no idea what the fuck she's talking about.
What's this? She thinks
a lot of actors think acting is a girl's job.
But he finds a sensuous way to do it.
Don't know what you're fucking talking about, Jody.
Yeah.
He was accused of having affairs.
Child stars are so fucked up.
With both Priscilla Presley and Kim Basinger.
All right. Get you some, Richard Gere.
He was, this is all dumb shit.
And I love this because I'm a gearhead, okay? So keep it coming.
Okay, man. This is weird. His ex-wife, Cindy Crawford, used to collect the clothes that he wore in his early films, and she actually bought the white naval uniform that he wore in Officer and a Gentleman.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's a good spouse right there.
But I don't know if she's buying it, because it just says his ex-wife used to collect the clothes. Like, did she get them...
Well, I'd say she probably stopped once they were not married anymore.
Maybe it started once they got divorced.
Oh, that'd be even weirder.
And that's he shared. So are they saying that he fucked the same? It says shared 5 known conquests with whoever Ryan O'Neal is, 4 with Warren Beatty, and 2 with Elvis Presley.
Okay, yeah.
So are they saying
they all banged? Yeah.
So
I wish I could be so famous that they talk about who I've banged.
Yeah.
And it'd be a short. It's not even a list.
Right. Yeah.
There's not enough names to consist a list. But if I was famous enough for that.
Let's check out some Mothman prophecies trivia. So it's based on events, of course, that happened in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's got to be the only time Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
But they said it in the 90s instead of the 60s.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm in the trailer now. The scene where Indrid Cold is seen for the first time in full wasn't done with CGI. It was actually shot in just blurred vision.
Yeah. I thought that was just me.
Not a lot of interesting trivia here for this.
Nope. Fuck that movie.
Yeah. So, the bridge collapse in the movie say that I've killed 36 people.
Oh yeah, why? I wonder why they changed that.
That's a weird thing. So yeah, that's that. But so you mentioned the Mothman Museum. And we went there. We toured it. So if anyone, you're ever in Point Pleasant, I mean that's the main thing you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You're gonna see the statue. You're going to go to the Mothman Museum. In the video,
I'd say check out the mural on the
mural's
flood wall,
cool.
too. I think that's really cool.
The whole area, I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like, you can go see the fort.
There's a McDonald's.
There's a McDonald's.
Yeah, the fort
we
is
didn't
there.
Check it out.
No.
But in the museum, you can check out a lot of press clippings.
Yeah.
And there's video footage, merchandise.
They have pieces from the bridge there you can check out.
Yeah,
There's like a model of the bridge, and
There's the actual handwritten police reports from Mothman sightings.
things that Richard Gere of Touch was.
There was a whole
Yeah.
big section of Richard Gere, Mothman prophecy stuff. It does make sense that it opened up right around the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the Mothman is not gone, guys. Like, just recently.
Yeah.
October 13th.
Chicago?
2020. Manuel Navarrete, something, recently received the following report from a woman who said she'd seen a 7-foot-tall, red-eyed creature after leaving work at the United States Postal Service sorting facility in Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. At around, what time?
11.
11 p.m.
Yep.
So that's weird.
Yeah.
At 11 p.m. keeps...
That's the witching hour. It's the mothin' hour.
That's the moth hour. She saw this on September 24th. She says, this report says, I had just left work at the United States Postal Service sorting facility at O'Hare Airport at about 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 24th of September, and was walking out to my car when I saw something standing at the far end of the parking lot where I usually park. At first, I thought it was a very tall person with a long coat. As I got closer to my car, I unlocked it.
Dennis Rodman.
Which caused my headlights to come on. My headlights hit the person standing about 20 to 25 feet from my car, causing it to turn and look at me. I saw that this was not some person, but some red-eyed creature, and what appeared to be a coat were actually its wings, which it spread out as it turned to look at me. At first, I thought it was some kind of very, very large bird, but I've never seen any bird that stood almost 7 feet tall. I'm 5'4", and this thing looked taller than me by at least 2 feet. This thing then started making some type of chirping sound, almost a half chirp and a half click, like someone was clicking their tongue, but much faster. It then made some type of screeching sound and took off running toward me.
Oh, Jesus.
It got to within 10 feet of me, took off into the air, and flew above me. I was screaming hysterically as I crouched down behind my car's open door, and I dove into my car head first. I was in a near panic as I tried to start the car, close it and lock the doors, and turn on my interior lights. I started my car and took off out of the parking lot and flew down the road till I hit the main road. I got home and told my husband, who also works at the same facility, and he was the one who told me about the sightings of this thing. I was scared shitless and hoped I never see this thing again. This thing is roaming around the area, scaring people half to death. I hope the airport people decide to do something about this thing someday.
Finally decide to do something about it.
So this dude actually met with this witness to discuss her sighting, although she was very reluctant to discuss the issues. According to him, the witness is a 17-year veteran of the Postal Service and has worked at the O'Hare sorting facility for the last 15 years. She stated that on the night in question, she was walking towards her car. She was checking her text messages on her phone, so she really wasn't paying attention. He asked her if there were other people around, to which she answered no. Most of the employees leave right after the shift change, and she usually sticks around for a little while to take care of the transition. When asked how big the wings were, she could not give me a definitive answer, but guesstimated that they must have been between 10 to 12 feet across. There was the clicking sound, ran towards her in very long strides, and then took off into the air. She said she did not really get a good look at it as it was running towards her because she was too busy trying to get into her fucking car.
Yeah. She had her phone out texting. She should have freaking popped that camera on and got a picture.
So these are
Deborah.
This is the latest in a new string of Mothman sightings from within a few hundred mile radius surrounding Lake Michigan, including every bordering state of the Great Lake. These sightings started popping back up in the spring of 2017. So it appears that the Mothman is back.
He's trying to warn us about
He's
something.
moved up a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
and I think what he's trying to warn us about is fucking don't re-elect Donald Trump.
there have been at least 10 sightings coming from the airport since August of 2019.
Let's go.
So O'Hare Airport is apparently the new site of it, which I wonder to 2000, what's say,
17?
17 is when they started popping up. When Fallout 76? Was
that-
later than 2017?
I think it was a little bit later, maybe
Okay.
like 2018 or something. I don't know, because I've never actually played it.
Yeah, I watched somebody play a few.
And I know they have cosplays convention in Chicago. Maybe it's like a nerd in a costume
That could
that
fly.
learned how to fly. Yeah. That's
So-
crazy.
Yeah, so maybe the Mothman's back. Maybe, yeah, like you said, warning us about something.
Yeah.
Don't elect Trump. Anybody but Trump. 2020?
Anybody. Mothman
I guess
2020.
Biden.
Mothman 2020.
Mothman, I would definitely vote for Mothman.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, again, thank you to everyone. All of the recent support has been awesome.
Shmarsh, you're the man.
Smarsh. We would love to start hearing from you guys more. Shoot us a message on Twitter, on Facebook, comment.
Instagram.
We have our first movie review out right now. We reviewed a movie called
Welcome to Sudden Death.
stars Michael Jai White and Gary Owen.
Yep.
And Gary Owen, liked the post on Instagram.
Yep.
So, friend of the show,
Friend of the show, we're saying
Gary
it.
Owen. Yeah, I'm making it official.
He's our third host now.
He'll be making very rare appearances.
Super rare.
But we have we will have another movie review
Yeah.
coming out for you guys to listen to on October 31st.
Halloween.
Halloween.
Ooh.
And we will be watching a Mothman movie.
Yeah.
Not sure which one yet.
Let's watch a really bad one.
There's going to be a few for us to pick
Oh,
from.
good. Yeah.
Yep. I went through and looked at all the different streaming sites that I have available, and I'll give you a little rundown here. We got Small Town Monsters presents The Mothman of Point Pleasant.
I was going to say, whichever title has the most words in it, I think is the one we should watch. And right out the gates.
Its little tagline is 13 months that changed history.
Oh.
I think I started to watch this,
Uh-huh.
and it's not even really a movie.
Ah.
Like, if I remember, I have to check, but if I remember right, it's trying to be a documentary.
Uh-huh.
Then we got just simply titled Mothman
Mothman.
with the tagline "The Hunter Knows His Prey."
Ooh, so they made him a kind of a mean guy. Then
Yeah.
he's a hunter.
We got the Mothman Curse, and the tagline of that one is "An Ancient Evil Unleashed."
Ooh.
So they're gonna try to get into the backstory of the Mothman.
Uh-huh.
We got Mothman.
Cornstalk.
Prophecies, of course, but you
Yeah.
watched it. So
I watched it
I
last
don't know, do you
night.
think it'd be?
I think you'd like it.
We
It's
could review
yeah.
it. You think it'd be?
I'd review
so
that.
That might be it. We got one that is just simply called Moth,
Moth.
with the tagline "The Legend Has Returned," and they make the Mothman on the cover.
Well, maybe they're like us. They're not convinced that maybe it is a man.
They make the Mothman on the cover of this one look kind of like the Crypt Keeper
Oh.
from
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt.
HBO's. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our options. We can either watch the Mothman Prophecies for a least watchable movie,
Uh-huh.
or we can go with one of these god awful fucking nightmares and see what happens. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It'll be out and available October 31st, Halloween.
Halloween.
That's our little treat for you guys. No tricks, just treats. That's what
Maybe.
we believe in around here. That's
Yeah.
our motto. Has been forever.
Since you said it.
Since
just
I
now.
said it a second ago.
Yep.
Check us out on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Dasher and Dancer. Like I said, drop us a message. Say hi to us.
Yeah.
We want to get some communication going with you guys. See what you guys want to hear next.
Send us story ideas.
Yeah, again, thank you once again to Stephen Marsh for the cool ass book.
Yeah.
And the Mothman book.
It's
both
full of
awesome.
pictures.
Of asses.
I appreciate
No
that.
Mothman ass in it.
No.
Somebody needs to take a picture of that sweet ass. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. Give us that 5 stars. Whether you think we deserve it or not, we would surely appreciate it.
$1 a star. That's what I pay.
Says Joel. Says Joel exclusively will give you $1 a star. Not Cash. Cash will not give you $1 a star.
Cash won't give you cash. That's your motto.
You got anything else before we get out of here? I'm
Nope.
sure I'm forgetting something.
I don't think. I think.
So
I don't
final
know.
verdict on the Mothman. What say you?
Richard Gere's a really good actor.
All right, and I say...
I don't know.
I say that the Mothman resides in the garage.